What if the answers you've been searching for have been inside you all along? Welcome to Insights with Purpose, the power of inner wisdom. We're Hemali and Sheila, two friends on two continents, having the conversations that bring us closer to the truth of who we are. No scripts, just real talk. Pull up a seat.
Today, we're talking about healing, but not the version you've been sold, not the weekend retreat version, not the I did the work and now I'm fixed version. We're going to the floor of it, the password that started it all, the anger that wouldn't leave, the children we almost didn't have, the memories that surfaced at 53 from when you were 5. The moments you're on your knees begging for mercy and feeling gratitude at the same time. If you're in the middle of it right now and wondering whether you're healing or falling apart, stay with us. By the end, you might realize they're the same thing. Hi, Sheila.
Hi, Hemali. How are you?
Good. How about you?
I'm good. Rainy weather. My puppy's by my side. All is well.
That's awesome. I am so excited about this topic today. In general, just healing and what does it mean? And people joke around or people think, they have specific way of seeing what healing looks like or what it should look like. And like, what is the reality of it? And what it actually is how does it show up in people's life? What is healing, first of all? Let's talk about that. And that's a very general and broad topic, but let's see where we go with this.
Beautiful. Yeah, talk about broad topic and based on like your life experiences, what you know, what you practice, right? Nurses are going to say, well, healing is about getting someone better,
Right.
right? So healing has so many different like places where it fits into, but where does it fit into spirituality? And for me, healing is about becoming whole, finding integration within the body after it has experienced so much fractalization throughout the course of its life. And that's my own term because for me, what I felt was that I wasn't whole. I had left myself in places, in people, in situations. So when I first started healing, it was about re encountering that wholeness within, that integration of all of those aspects into one beingness, one self. What was healing for you and how did you approach that topic in your life?
Well, I don't know when it started or what it means in terms of healing. I think the words change was more on my mind in terms of I want change. This is just not fitting. Things are not working out. I'm not feeling good within my body. I'm getting angry. I'm getting frustrated. I want something different. When you ask someone, like we just talked about, how are you? What's going on in your life? And I used to really ponder when even I said that, oh, nothing, the same old, same old. And I would sit with that. And I was like, why? Why is it same old, same old? It's so boring. I want it exciting. I want something new. I want something that brings joy in my life. I want something different all the time. And what is that? So it was kind of an exploration. That's when I was really looking into the words that I spoke, how I spoke it, the tone that I was speaking in. And that's when I went on this journey of what it means to change. How should I change? And how do I get really rid of this anger that is so deep within me? What is the root cause? I mean, all these questions that I was asking to myself. So that's where I started. For me, it was just I had had it enough. I felt like I didn't belong anywhere, to anyone, with anyone. So it was more of an exploration that I started.
Yeah, that resonates with me deeply. I also felt very, where do I belong? So that resonates immensely. Interesting to see that you approached it as a change. I approached it as a feeling of separation and brokenness.
Mm.
I I didn't feel complete and I didn't feel whole. But I like what you said because sometimes is healing change? Is it as
Hmm.
simple as shifting? Simple in its naming, not the process, right?
My
But
God.
is it a perspective?
Mm.
Is it you carry it as change, I carry it, or carried it as I'm broken, therefore I need to be put back together? I don't think I've ever really felt what that full definition of healing was as collective agreement of it because it has so many variants. You can use it for like your work. You can use it whether that is in the medical field or that is in energy healing spaces or that is in shamanic traditions. And they all have their own explanation of what the healing is intended to produce. For me, I wanted to feel complete and find that sense of belonging again. I thought it would come from feeling complete. Like, once I feel like I am myself, I will feel like I belong.
Mm.
That wasn't the case, but I sit with that differently now. That is just who I am.
Mm.
And I'm okay with it. But I remember that after my awakening journey, I had to change the password on my computer and I didn't know what I was going to put it under. I always try to make these passwords like meaningful and so that I don't have to think about them because then I won't remember what they are. But I said, okay, this is my journey. And the password was healing Evangelina. Not because I was healing me, I was healing my connection to that name. For all of my life, I had such an aversion to my middle name, Evangelina, that I didn't want anyone to know I even had a middle name. It doesn't exist. Don't call me by that. It was a complete rejection of a part of my life I didn't want to address and brought up a lot of pain. So the first thing I thought to heal wasn't like, let's address the wounds within my heart. Oh, no, no, no. It was like, let's address this Evangelina thing. Let's heal that. Let's bring that back into like love. So that became my password. And for that entire year, I used Healing Evangelina. And why I wanted to bring it up is because I wasn't thinking it was going to catapult me into
Hmm.
anything other than healing the connection to that name or the rejection to that name. We don't think that the things we focus on in the moment are the stepping stones for bigger things. It threw me into a whole world of healing, self awareness, expansion, and all of that happened within that year's time frame
Mm.
of when I put in that password. I wasn't thinking about it that way. It just so happened to be that way. Was there anything for you that you said, I'm going to do this, and then it catapulted you into a healing journey? Did you have like a moment that you felt a connection to a specific thing and you didn't know where it was going to lead you and it led you to finding yourself?
Hmm. That's such a big question. I mean, there are many events or moments that led me there. But I think that if I look back, anything and everything I did, like I would, again, we're bringing up the anger, right? And I would say, this is for my kids. Like I've given enough of information for them to work with, for trauma, for them to work with a therapist so far. But I don't want to add on to that. And I need to start working on myself for my kids. And so I started doing this, or took a course on art of living, which was introduction to happiness course. It was called happiness course. And at the time, they've changed the names. But although I was trying to address the anger, what came out from that 5-day thing with the breath work, deep meditation, the resentment I had, and to show the love to backtrack, and we've talked about it. I can't believe I'm going to talk on the show, but I have always said when I was younger, and even when I met my husband, and that's why I didn't want to date. I didn't want to marry, didn't want to have kids. And then I said, okay, well, we can get married after dating 5 years. But I stood my ground. I don't want to have any children. And I had reason, and I would say things like, even as child, I would say things and I wouldn't know where that is coming from. And I was like, I don't want to bring kids into this world of so much pain. I don't want to give anything from me, any kind of pain, hurt, transfer it to a new beings into this world. And I want things to end at me. I used to say that.
Wow.
And regardless, I was provoked. I used to be this person where, you dare me and I would do it kind of thing. I was really provoked and pushed, and so much trauma around that in terms of having children. And you have to have children, right? You get married, that's the process of life. And when you have first kid, then you have to have for me, I felt like I needed to have the second one, especially in America, because you have to have a sibling, someone
Mm.
close to you. And I used to go as a physical therapist. I used to go to nursing homes and see people, this 90-year-old not having any family, nobody visiting.
Mm.
And I would always say, or children visiting, and I would always say that I would take care of my nieces and nephew to the point where they're my own children, give them everything that they will come and see me at least, and spend time with me. Regardless, I had kids, two beautiful children. And that, coming back to that meditation, was that space of acceptance. And not that I didn't accept them, I loved them. I worked around their schedule. I gave up my career, and they used to be sick all the time. So once I had them, I mean, I loved them dearly. But that resentment was still playing in my soul. And to find that acceptance within my soul, to allow to release that thought, that story, was a big, big moment for me at the time.
Mm.
And I think moving forward, I mean, things were just, then I did Reiki, and how that kind of brought me into that calmness. And that healing I felt was more, as I was saying, that not belonging, not only to myself, but sometimes I felt like I didn't belong here on planet Earth. And I know many of you feel that way because I've talked to so many that have felt that way. And that was a big thing to realize that that's what it was. It's like, first of all, finding whether I belong to myself, but it's like I do belong here on earth, to even anchor myself or ground myself. So healing for me was coming back to the home, not only within me, but here on earth.
That's deep. That is really deep. So many layers to deconstruct
Right?
in that huge share.
Yeah. And I will tell you, the first time I accepted, I really looked up and I was like, I accept your challenge of being here on earth. I am ready and open to any challenge that there is or purpose that I need to fulfill for being here. And this was in 2022, right? How old was I? I was right. I'm 53 now. Just few years ago, that acceptance. Fine, I accept. I'm here and I'm here to stay. What is it that I need to, what is the service to this world?
That's really deep because I don't think I've accepted that I'm in this planet that fully.
But it's hard. You go back and forth with that.
Yeah, I am beginning to embody being in this body and
Yeah.
on this planet now. And there's not enough talk around that. There's a lot of talk about other aspects of the spiritual space and the healing journey. And we can focus on so many different things, whether we're healing wounds that we have acquired while we're here, or healing that major, most important wound of separation from the divine. And that tearing apart of the divine aspect that those of us who understand that we're not of this world carry, that very few people even touch upon, is that injury of knowing how, or even remembering. Not many people remember their past connection or that bigger connection to the all that is. And having that jarring feeling of not belonging, not because you don't belong to a particular circle, but because you don't belong to the race
Mm-hmm.
itself, is super isolating and it's super shattering. It is an absolute acceptance that not only are you in a body that limits your connection to that divine beingness,
Mm-hmm.
but then you're also stuck here up until the time you chose to exit arrives. And that feeling holds us to delay in decision making, like getting married, having children, living fuller, deeply lived experiences of life, because we're like in a holding pattern,
Mm-hmm.
waiting for a return back home. And this is not, we're not speaking about this morbidly. We're just bringing awareness to the deeper issue of how do you heal your human when you haven't dealt with healing that rupture from the divine
Mm-hmm.
and you still feel and remember it as such. What am I doing here? Where is that cushioned collective experience of love that I just experienced not that long ago? And how long am I going to be stuck here for with that feeling of not belonging?
You put it so beautifully. Thank you. It's like it just puts that meaning to I felt and what it feels like. So saying that, we're moving to more human topic of healing. I have been when people come for healing with me, I've heard few friends say that so most of your clients that come, they may have deep traumas and they're going through so many things, and or they're like their world is shattered. And I had to think about that. Do you only step into the healing world or healing yourself if you have earth shattering trauma? Yes, but can you, I mean, I don't need any healing, I am fine. But then you move around the world complaining, you move around the world talking about how this person has hurt you, how this person did this, how it has impacted your life. Aren't we healing that when we do healing work? Are you addressing, and sometimes I have clients that just want basic, that stress relief, overwhelm relief, or sometimes they don't know what they want, but they heard about the healing work and they just want to experience it and then find it so profound that come regularly for multiple sessions. So have you experienced in terms of what are some of the things people around you that have not experienced healing and how they take or they see what healing is?
Let's go there. First, I want to say the only reason why I could articulate what I did is because I felt that. And I haven't shared, and my heart is like galloping out of my body right now. Like, how far do I go with this? One of my earliest memories is waking up aboard a ship, and I won't bring that conversation into this topic, but I wanted to bring enough around it so that when you said thank you for phrasing it that way, is really because I know that feeling. I've walked the same feeling to the point where when my twin sister passed, I felt that level of there's absolutely nothing holding me down here at all. And that was scary because I have children. I have grown children, but I have children, you know? That feeling of what is here for me re-anchored itself within me once she passed, and she passed in 2023. It's not something I feel daily, but it comes. I have those moments of big emotional what is holding me down, where my ability to ground in my human is more difficult, to ground in the experience of being in this planet, walking and experiencing life within the constraints of this human body, when I have clear memories of not being within it. I just wanted to take the time to name that because it was coming up. But to answer your question, I have no idea what people around me think of my healing journey. And I don't even call it a healing journey. This journey I've been embarked on, it's healed a lot of my woundings and my perceptions and my ability to see beyond the wall. And the reason why I don't know is because I don't go asking. And they share little, they understand up to a point. And there are some who go like, oh, you're just crazy. Oh, she's just crazy. Oh, yeah, that's right on brand for her. She's nuts. But so I don't really know. I think what causes me grief when it comes to the people around me is that we can have deep conversations, but most people are not ready to have those deep conversations, right? And I know now that only through that deep connection, healing can happen. But I can take the horse to water, but I cannot make the horse drink. So I have all these tools that have helped me, and I want to share. Of course, I want to pass them on to those who I love and have close by. Part of this journey, specifically in healing, is understanding that you can only heal yourself and you can offer everything to anybody else. But if they're not ready, they don't understand what you're saying. It's as if you're speaking a completely different language. That is also something that I had to heal. I wanted to bring everybody along. What do you mean we're moving to a new earth frequency and we can heal ourselves and our body and our minds, our traumas, and we can have deep, deep human connection with the divine while we're in this body? Wait a second. Let's go. How do I bring everybody along? Silence. Because people need to embark on that journey when they're ready. But it hurt. When my process landed on deaf ears, to those closest to me, the silence was deafening and painful. Painful because I was coming from a loving space, but I cannot force anyone. You need to have a readiness. You need to have patience and room within yourself to go there. And most people don't want to. There's comfort in where they are at. I know some people watch me go through what I went through and were like, she's nuts. Her life is in shambles. Everything is falling apart. How does she live the way that she lives? Because my journey required full faith. And full faith requires that you just give the step even when you're not having a step there. It requires you to step into the dark, right? And I did. So I know what from the outside looking in, my journey looked like to other people. She's gone crazy. Why would I want that level of instability? I don't want that. My life is comfortable. Yeah, there's things happening, but who cares? I was uncomfortable enough to say, I am done living life the way I've been living life. I want to own my life, So it's a bold push forward without guardrails. And not everyone will want to go through that with you.
Yeah, as I said in the other episode, that we come into this world alone and we go out of this world alone, and it is alone journey to move forward. A healing is just your journey, and you can give guidance, suggestion. And I used to use that phrase all the time that you use. I can bring the horse to the water, but I can't make it drink it, right? Even in physical therapy, you can give as much as you can. You can tell them what to do, but it's up to them whether they want to heal it and how far they want to heal it. And yeah, it's hard to see others, our loved ones, struggling around us and not wanting to take that step. because it is unknown, it is unsafe. And people think healing is something where all positive vibes and all, I think in 60s or something, right? Like the whole tie-dye t-shirt and what was that phase called? I don't know. But hippie. Yes, thank you. Hippie movement. Yeah. I am not dissing anyone because I'm one of them. And now people laugh about it. There are movies on it or how they supposed to look like, how they're act. They're always high and happy, and it needs to be just zen and in peace. And if you're doing the healing work, you shouldn't be responding like this. You shouldn't be, standing up. You shouldn't be aggressive, or you shouldn't be talking about this or doing. It's like so many restrictions that society thinks should have, because you're all knowing, or supposedly you're supposed to be all knowing, and you're supposed to wear certain things, you're supposed to act certain way, and that just blows my mind. It's like the amount of work we've done on ourselves, the healing. Yes, I'm going to stand up for myself. Yes, I'm going to tell you and show you what healthy boundary for me is. Yes, I am not going to take your bullying. I am going to love myself. And at times you may think I'm selfish because I'm going to take my time for myself. And I may miss birthdays and anniversaries and not respond right away because maybe I'm not in the space of celebrating. So, how has that worked for you? Let's talk about that side of nobody talks about what, and let's talk about the bypass. People think that when you do healing, there is a start and there is an end. And it is all happy, all good vibes. And let's just suppress everything. Put it in a bottle and put it in the sea.
Let's package this one or unpack this one.
Yeah.
But that's a lot. I gotta say that when you were mentioning the part about taking time for myself, and I know it looks like selfishness, and I'm gonna be that because I need it. That one took me a while, but I got it. And I know it feels as though they don't come or they don't share or they don't participate. But when you're going through a healing process and you're in the depths of that, the outside world requires a different footing because it breaks you open. So you go through times when just one other person is too much. You feel the entire energy of a space or of the people around you, and everything becomes augmented. And even though you want to show up and have a good time at a party, it's not just showing up and having a good time at a party. It no longer matches that. You cannot unsee what you have seen.
Yeah.
You cannot unhear the things that are going on. It's literally as if now you're watching the movie rather than participating in it. And it is so intense. I don't think I've really been in love and loved my family as much as I love them now. They wouldn't say the same because for the biggest part of this journey in the last 2 years, I've been physically absent. And now I live in a whole other continent. So imagine that. But like there are pictures, family pictures, I'm not a part of. There were moments I was not physically there. And I am grateful they had each other and could rejoice in the gathering of each other and hold each other. I couldn't participate in that. I was cracked open. Well, all I was experiencing was magnified pain. I couldn't show up authentically in the space to celebrate if I felt fully like everything was crumbling within myself, if I couldn't find my footing. And it's important as you move along in order to like heal and regain access to your own self that you can learn to say, I can't go to that. I don't want to. Or no, thank you. And oftentimes in these spaces, it's portrayed as being all this high vibes, sensitivity only. And if you finding yourself there, enjoy it. Because if there's one truth about this is that it's temporary.
Mm-hmm.
And you will not be in that all the time. Because if you are striving to be always within those specific frequencies, you're missing out on the best part, which is being human and being in your emotions and being aware of how you move and healing the things that make you not fully show up as yourself. If you're always striving to be high vibes, if you are bypassing the anger that comes up in this journey, the frustration of being and having to show up in systems that you know are flawed, that you know should crumble, and still you have to show up within them. If that doesn't cause you to go, what in the holy Jesus is happening? Because you need to stay high vibes. Let me tell you something. You're going to fall because it's not sustainable. And it's not what we came here to do. If we were meant to always be in the 5D, we would be. The healing journey, the awakening journey, this process that we walk on this life while we're in a body requires that we understand this body, that
Yeah.
we explore the anger. No, I don't dress that way. Doesn't mean I'm not spiritual if I don't dress a particular way. That is doesn't make sense to me. I'm not an aesthetic. I'm a human being. I have different reactions, emotions, feelings, paths that I love. I'm not only spiritual, I am all of these other things within this self. So the restriction of show up high vibes is like, get out of here for a minute. I can sustain that with you for a little while, but that's not my goal. That is not my end journey. There is a misconception that hurts people that in order to say you're spiritual, you don't suffer, you don't feel, you don't delve in places that are below a certain energetic frequency. Well, let me tell you something. I live in those spaces. I love them. I love the dark aspects of me as much as the light aspects of me. I love the entire kaleidoscope of my construction. I love all of it because every single time I fall into the depths of despair, I come back with more awareness of who I am. And that allows me to anchor joy in my body better. If you are finding yourself struggling to maintain an image of what spirituality is, please go back into your heart and question yourself and your intention, because that is one of the things that harms so many people embarking on this journey the most.
Yeah. And it's not about fixing. Like you have to define it. Are you fixing or are you trying to fix yourself or find yourself or be yourself more so? And healing is a very, very long and hard process. Sometimes very scary. You have to be brave and courageous to go through it. And I've described it before. It's like I have gone through so many tornadoes of events and situations and emotions within myself while things are unraveling, not only about situation, but about relationships, about seeing things what your naked eye cannot show you or see. And you go through that tornado. And then there is this time when you have sometimes breathing space in that eye of the storm. Because remember, there's nothing going on, it's all around you. And I've seen myself in that space where it takes time. And then I know that I have to go through. There is no other way but to go through it. And when you talk about the dark spaces, for me, it has been like systematic when I've gone through this journey in terms of when I started doing the meditation and healing. I'm a very visual person. So I would see this tunnel in my mind where I am in this dark tunnel, and the end of the tunnel where it's the darkest. And then I see this dot of a light at the end of the tunnel. And my process is to walk over there to the light. And then I've shown where I've come to the light. And then there are doors where I can open any door. They tell you, I've been told to open the door. And this is in my meditation, in my mind, where jump into the light. And of course, who wouldn't jump into the light? Yes, I was scared. But as soon as I jumped in, I was carried and by angels, by divine. And I was all high vibes, right? Because who doesn't love the feeling of being held in this beautiful, unconditional love and light and shown the beauty of what and magic and miracle this life is? And then there came a point where, again, I was brought to that center and there were doors, and I was asked to open the door, and it was dark. It was darkness. And it says, okay, jump into the darkness. And you're like, what? This is how I was. It's like, what? Yeah, everybody would jump into the light. Would you jump into the darkness? That was the question. And that's when I took my solo trip after that to Peru in 2017, not knowing what I was going to do. Yes, I went to a retreat. And yes, I did an ayahuasca plant medicine ceremony journey. And what other way than going into the darkness than that? But again, I was still taken on a journey of what this space is all about, is just that love, that unconditional love. We come from that. We are in that, and we merge into that and shown the oneness of all beings, not just us as human, but everything. And yes, of course, after that, there were so many events that kept, pushing me into seeing the darkness within me. And there were times when in my meditation, there's this filled dark cloud, and all I'm doing is I'm just going around it, observing it, examining it. I don't want to touch it because I felt like if I even poke it, it will burst open. So those are some of the experiences in terms of unraveling. I mean, there are times when some of the process is like I'm sobbing, and I say with all the snot and, everything, because it hurts you to your depth sometimes, what you experience, even the loneliness, even the darkness in terms of, depression or depressive tendency or feeling. And when we talk about not belonging on this planet or being or wanting to leave, does not mean that we are suicidal at all. And so, yeah, I don't know. I'm going out into this tangent about healing, but those are some of the journeys that, I have experienced in terms of my own meditation. And that's just a surface level that I've touched.
Yeah, like we said at the beginning, the topic of healing is such a broad subject to delve into. There are so many places where we can go with it. For me, understanding where I felt broken,
Mm.
and again, this is a perspective from the space of I am just entering this awakening journey, and how I approach this topic of healing. I wasn't approaching it as I understand it now. I needed to find a glue that kept me whole in order to walk. Healing was this first label I used in the space of spirituality, was the first one that welcomed me and allowed me to understand myself. What I now know is that we're not broken. We cannot be anything but what we in fact are, which is the divine. There is no separation other than imagined separation. You can never be separate from the creator. There's a feeling of that when we're here incarnate. Very raw, real feeling. I experienced it. But in truth, separation is illusion. In truth, separation is the perception that in order to reach the divine, we must be whole and pure and high vibes. When in truth, every single one of us on this planet right now is the divine experiencing itself through your free will. I didn't just arrive to that. It took a lot of murky water walking to get here. It took a lot of tears and pain and revisiting of who I am. How do I move through this planet within this body? How do I experience things? And I had to revisit very traumatic spaces. I'm not talking about it abstractly. I experienced sexual abuse when I was a child and again in my teens, difficult, violent relationships. And when I arrived at awakening and putting myself back together, I had to re-explore and revisit those things with a different perspective and awareness in order to forgive and truly heal and lead a more whole, fulfilling life that was true to my essence and not due to my trauma. And in order to do that, I had to forgive a lot of things and realize that I wasn't the things that happened to me, and I wasn't living my life from a flawed, broken space, wounded space, but rather walking my way back to the truth that I am whole. And it's not a linear journey.
Not at all.
It's a spiral, and you have access to it as far as you have room for it. And this is why it usually takes a crumbling, a full revision of your inventory before you have room for more. I go through these cycles of I am feeling wholeness within me. And then I will find myself asking, who am I at this point in my life? And I go back to that revisit. Sometimes things come up and I find myself like I found myself yesterday on my knees, crying, begging for mercy, and feeling such gratitude at the same time. It's that broken masses of spaces where then allow you to have your sense of perception and awareness and understanding in order to hold more light. And this is what I'm trying to get to. Everything you dismantle as you go in this journey allows always for more room to hold that light within you and express it outwardly. In my broken face, in those places I felt like I wasn't whole, I couldn't show up as a whole person. I couldn't even pretend to show up as a whole person. In the cycles of the crumbling and the gathering and the crying and that hermit space of isolation, then the rebirthing happens. And it always kind of happens the same way. It's not constant, but it does happen because I cannot hold more pain now from a different perspective than I could when I first started this. Things injured me or felt like an injury so quickly that I couldn't hold any other perspective. It was like I was feeling it in my own body, even though it was not mine to feel, right? So what the journey allows me to do is to come back to the same wound and not be so embodied in that wound. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And it's a process, right? And not only a process, but also we have to process the information within us, feel it, be with it, and take it in. And sometimes allow just nothingness before it can even integrate within our body. It's like everything is separated, and then you have to allow it in all our bodies, meaning our physical body, our mental, emotional body, our pleasure body, wisdom body, and the etheric body. So it's like all these, it takes time to process and integrate it into each body and then our soul to really be with that information that we just unraveled. And I hear you in terms of even certain things that you may think that it has no impact within your life can have so much. And just like you shared, I'm like trembling right now, but I too, in that Me Too movement, have had three experiences. One where I don't even remember how old I was, But some of those memories, like just few weeks ago when we were talking, some of those memories came through. I am 53. And this may have happened to me when I was 5, 6, I don't know. But the impact it has on your life, how you react, how you act, that was one of my reasons I didn't want to bring another living thing into life to experience any of this craziness, or even bring them onto this planet where there's so much suffering and so much happening. And when you're talking about holding space for yourself, some of us are so sensitive and empathic that not only are we experiencing our own energy and own shifts, we're experiencing at a community, family level, at a community level, at a country level, and at a global level, but also cosmic level. And so much happens within us. And sometimes we don't even know what is happening in terms of energetically or frequency wise, that sometimes our vibration is off and we don't know where it's coming from. But we just have to be in that space and that moment and hold that space and honor that space. We could be crying so much and we could be grieving because there is something happening globally, or we feel that the grasp or the love for humanity is disintegrating. The love for the elder wisdom is dismantling. And I'm being emotional right now because this is something we've been talking about for last 2-3 days, feeling that deep, deep grief sometimes of not only, sometimes also comes from what you were. Not that you want to go back to that, but it was part of you. And it is okay to grieve that part of you and then come back to your whole self right here, right now. I
Yeah.
just had to sit with that.
Yeah. It's a lot because, and thank you for being as you are and sharing that, because once you're cracked open,
Yeah.
once you're turned on, aware, attuned to the rhythm of this planet and the collective of humanity at large, there are times you feel at that level very
Yeah.
deeply. And you can be very much high vibes 5 minutes before, but then something hits you viscerally in your body that stops you on your tracks. How much of our humanness have we lost as a collective? We process differently. Taking time for ourselves usually means let me transmute the
Mhm.
dense energy of the collective itself and then resurface. Healing is not it's a singular experience. It's a unique individual experience and it becomes part of the collective field. It attunes to the heartbeat of our planet. We learn to move and process it when we're alone. That is why so much time and isolation is needed. There are other things here, protocols, prayers, protections, but in the day to day experience of life, and everything has its value, in the everyday experience of life, when you just feel frequencies and you are cracked open, you will process differently. There's a level of transformation and transmutation that only happens when you carry it yourself and sit with it. And this is a journey that never leaves you. I don't think I can say there's no space for healing within me. There will always be spaces where I'm not looking that can still hold light and I can still bring awareness to that maybe I'm not ready for, right? This is why you remember what you remember when it comes, like you're remembering from when you were a child in your 50s. That's because you've allowed the space to now be able to hold that memory. Healing is thrown about as a thing that you do and you complete. And that cannot be further from the truth for me. I wouldn't call it the same thing, but there's always this journey of transformation and dismantling that's going on in the background where you can hold space for more of a bigger container for more love which requires you to walk through really dark tunnels, more understanding. I couldn't understand someone if I didn't live it. Is that walk of how can you heal if you haven't healed yourself, right? And I think we all arrive at the places we arrive at in the perfect timing for it. Not before, not after. We're never missing our time frame. It's always being shown to us and always looking for that readiness of, are you available now to address this? Can you sit with it? And we've talked about very sensitive things today, very raw things for each of us, Hemali and I, all with the hopes that when you sit to listen, you take some time to feel, what does healing look like in your life? Where do you approach it from? And you might feel broken, separate, lonely, raw in this human form, but you are not that. Stay with that space of bringing light into the tight spaces. You'll find that you've been held all along. If there's one thing to sit with from today, you were never broken. Healing isn't about fixing what's wrong with you. It's about bringing light into the tight spaces and discovering you've been held all along. It's not linear. It's not pretty. It's a spiral. And every time you come back around, you can hold more. More awareness, more light, more truth. And that is enough. That has always been enough. Thank you for being here with us. If this episode moves something within you, please share with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe wherever you're listening and leave a review. It helps more people find this space. Find us on all your favorite social media platforms. And remember, you already are what you're looking for. Trust your insight, act with purpose, and stay in your knowing.
Everything I held was always there, always there, always there. Deep inside.